The Trump administration is fighting back as the president's revised travel ban faces yet more legal hurdles. The Department of Justice filed notice Friday that it plans to appeal a temporary restraining order issued this week in Maryland. The new executive order is aimed at temporarily preventing entry from 6 Muslim-majority countries. 2 federal judges have blocked the new version of the ban, one in Maryland and one in Hawaii. Attorney Seth Berenzweig is with us now from Washington. So, Seth, this new ban was supposed to address many of the issues with the original order. So what went wrong?
Well, that's really what the administration is fighting about right now. It was a significantly changed order. Even the Seattle federal judge that ruled against the first order conceded on the record that it is a significantly different, tailored-down order. And it's very unusual that we're hitting this bump in the road because the law is very clear. The president has lots of authority and gets a lot of discretion on matters of national security. There's a lot of case law that says in this context for individuals who are not American citizens outside of the United States, the Constitution powers under this context really do not even extend beyond the border. So it was really, frankly, a very surprising result. And the reason why we're here where we are is because the judges in Hawaii and Maryland did something that was absolutely extraordinary. They went around the language of the order that on its face is neutral in terms of religion, but they pointed to pre-inauguration statements of the president and a number of his staff and supporters for the conclusion that he did in fact discriminate on the basis of religion. So because of this really unique historic moment, we find ourselves where we are today.
So what is the argument here by the DOJ, by the Trump administration against the Maryland judge's order?
Right. Well, the government's argument is really based upon a lot of traditional precedent. They're saying, look, the president has the authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to address these kinds of powers. It is a matter of a constitutional separation of powers for the president. He has the specific authority under the Immigration Code to deem and classify certain foreign nationals as posing a national security risk, and that the judges went outside of the 4 corners of his document in issuing these extraordinary rulings. This is going to be appealed immediately to the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals on the East Coast, and probably within a few days will also be in the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals on the West Coast. So there'll be a lot of developments in the next few days.
Well, Seth, you touched on this a moment ago. U.S. District Judge Theodore Chuang cited earlier Trump statements during the campaign as evidence for his ruling. Could that be viewed as judicial overreach, as President Trump has called it?
That's a great question, and I think that that's really one of the key questions of the day. I would say probably not. I think that the courts have the authority to look at that kind of information outside of the order if there is any kind of ambiguity or significant question that relates directly to a statement that clearly demonstrates, allegedly, discriminatory animus. Look, we have, as both of the judges said in these decisions, historic, unique statements by then the candidate for the president of the United States saying that he was calling for a complete and total ban of Muslims entering the United States. That's going to be the question on the table, but ultimately I think that there was a basis in law for the district court judges doing what they did in this unique case.
So what happens next here, Seth? Where do we go from here?
So you'll see 2 things happening over the next couple of weeks. The first thing is that you will see appeals that'll be going through the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals on the East Coast and probably soon the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals on the West Coast. You can expect a lot of turbulence and a bumpy ride through those circuits because you see conflicts among the judges. Then you can expect that you will have variance of opinions, and we will end up right back to the United States Supreme Court here in Washington, D.C. for a final decision probably by this summer.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, we also, Seth, want to get your opinion on the president's Supreme Court nominee. Neil Gorsuch will appear before the Senate coming up here this week. What legal topic are you most looking forward to Mr. Gorsuch addressing?
Well, I think he's really going to be hitting a lot of very interesting topics, but as it blends into our discussion today, I would say look out for his opinion on the extent of executive authority under Article 2 of the Constitution, because we're talking about that in terms of immigration policy. We're talking about that in terms of executive orders. That's going to be slamming very close to home in these hearings this week, because if and when Judge Gorsuch gets in front and goes into the Supreme Court in a narrowly divided court, he's going to be able to break a tie on this crucial issue affecting the entire United States.
All right, Attorney Seth Berenzweig, thanks so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.